Hello everyone, we'll be starting in just a few minutes. It seems that my browser has just crashed, so just have to get that back up. Let's just open a new window. Resize. And then TradingView, Twitter, and Restream. Let's pull up the Bitcoin chart. Let's pull up the chat. All right, and that should all be working. If someone is watching and could please send me a message in one of the chats, either YouTube or Periscope, whichever you're on, I would very much appreciate that, just so that I know that everything is working properly. All right, my mic appears to be working, so let me just switch over to the webcam. All right, awesome. Hello everyone, my name is Charlie from Altcoin Mentors, and today we're doing our usual weekly live stream. Just going to go over first a few of the calls I made in our Telegram group over the week. Just go over some of the recent price action on Bitcoin. Go over just the reasoning behind the calls that I made and how they turned out. And after that, going to give you the bigger picture of what Bitcoin is looking like right now, as well as some of the buy setups for Bitcoin and some of the altcoins that I'm tracking. And then after that, I'll go through a few of your questions, and we should be out of here. Gonna try to get this finished up by 6 or 6:30, preferably 6. But if you guys do have any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them until 6:30. I just have a lot of work to do. Good old day job. But anyway, let's get started. So I'll switch over to the screen. So right now, we're tracking Bitcoin. That was the wrong one. Okay. Into Telegram. Let us scroll up to from where we were last week. Okay, so 10 days ago, I had started a short from right here. Actually, it was right here. There was a ton of bearish divergence on the TSV, MACD, and RSI. So I was actually fairly confident that this was the top and that we were going to go lower from here. Actually, turned out it got one more. So I actually added even on more size because at that point we had an ascending channel on here and the technical showed descending channel. When you have that, that's a very, very bearish sign, and opposite if you have the price action going down and your technicals are going up, making higher lows. So shorted this from around 1150, and I had posted that in Telegram, but the problem was that I was actually fairly sure that this here around 8,400, I called that this was the bottom, when it turns out obviously we went far lower than that. And on Twitter, I'd called out that this is the bottom. This is when this is when it's time to buy. But obviously, that was wrong. And what I pointed out was that I wanted to see if this was the bottom. I wanted to see follow through. Let's see, where was it? Follow through above 9.3 thousand, and then retrace to 8.5. So up to 9.3, which it did, but then it only barely held 8.5, and that was the first sign that it was potentially not actually still bullish. And then when we went back up to here, and it stopped basically at the 1.0 extension. So if you painted fibs from the Fibonacci extension from here, and then you place those on here, right here is a little past the 1.0, and that generally means that we're going to go back down, and it's not in fact going to be bullish. So I shorted from right around 9.6. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, so I'd taken a long here and then took some profits there. Yep, and then I wanted to see Bitcoin above 9K, but it obviously broke through that. And then here's the first chart. So the only way that we could have stayed bullish was potentially this this leading diagonal here. But you can also see that there was the purple count that obviously it was closer to what actually happened. This was a bit off because I had the bottom being at around 7,500, but it actually turned out to be around 7,300. So $200 off, which isn't a huge deal, but I did have the count itself a little bit wrong. This 2 actually ended up being... Oh, no, actually, no, that was the correct 2, but... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I should have prepared a little bit more for this. I just didn't have that much time. But this was a corrective structure, so you can see A, B, and then C. And so I thought that this might have been just one long impulse down, and then 3 waves up, and then you were going to see down, back up, and then down again. That was not the case. This entire thing was an ABC inside of a larger double corrective pattern, and then the ABC, or the 5 waves down, was right here. So then Bitcoin, right around there, it broke supports and started a short because I was not, because as soon as it broke support, that count was dead. And let's see, what day was this? This was on March 14th, so 4 days ago was the time when I was fairly sure that it was going to go down here. And so the region I'd marked off was from around 6,200 to 7,700. And so that was 4 days ago. The day after that, yeah, just painting more supports. And then filled out even more of the waves, and now you can see, this was on March 15th, and now you can see this is when I started to hone in on what was actually the correct count. So you can see that I had painted this green rectangle right here to 7,300 or to around 7,200, and we actually bounced out just around 7,300. And then the charts right after that. Again, this was actually a pretty interesting call because it had bounced right off the 5, which is usually the maximum you want to retrace for a 4, or the 0.5, and then painted an even more accurate target after we had a confirmed bottom here to around 7,300 exactly. And this is also when I opened a short. So my average fill from this, I think I shorted here and here. So average fill was around 8,300. Showed the larger picture. And then, yep, even more evidence that we were going down. And yeah, that just continues until today. But the point of all this is that technical analysis does in fact work. There are a lot of people out there who say that technical analysis is not going to work in crypto because the markets are too heavily manipulated, and that it's impossible for anyone to make actual calls because the so-called market movers and whales are at it again, just making the market do their bidding. But I don't think that is correct at all, because what technical analysis is just doing is technical analysis is the study of sentiment. And all market participants are part of that sentiment no matter what, even if they're trying to manipulate the market. It's not like markets have not been manipulated before. So technical analysis was really born by Richard Schabacker in, I think, the 1940s. And you can imagine that not many people out there are buying stocks. So the markets are definitely heavily manipulated, and he was still able to find very good buying opportunities. So technical analysis is very much able to work on even heavily manipulated markets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even some of the smaller altcoins, even though with some of the smaller ones, the volume is so low that occasionally it's not as accurate. But with Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and ERC20 tokens combined are around $1 trillion or $3 trillion per year in volume. So that certainly is enough for technical analysis to be accurate. And then the second point, which is a little bit more self-serving, is that you can see that our Telegram group is quite a useful resource if you are trying to do any day trading or swing trading. Recently, it's been more focused on that. I kind of want to position it more into positional trading, but my dad is a day trader, and so he is more apt to make calls relevant to that. But we're going to be switching more towards the longer time horizons in the near future. So the chart that I had most recently posted no, that was not what I wanted to go through, actually. Sorry, guys. Not super prepared for this as I want to be. But on Twitter yesterday, let me pull it up, or rather this morning, when Bitcoin was right around there, I had tweeted out that even though I was wrong about the bottom before, that now this is actually the bottom, and that we had finally reached capitulation. And so capitulation is the point in which people are actually, the people who are more long-term biased and long view biased are starting to sell off their positions and making other not as strong hands also sell. And the reason that I thought this, I'd also posted this in the Telegram this morning, was that the sentiment was very, very bearish on Twitter. Twitter, Reddit, 4chan, a lot of people like very, very negative on the current market, on when people were saying that this is all going to zero, stuff like that. When you see that, that's generally a pretty good sign that we've reached capitulation. In addition, a lot of altcoins were near their very long-term supports, and it was hard for me to imagine that they could go even lower without being some sort of more complex structure, which is generally not very common. And then also the last one is that there were a lot of massive price shares and stop hunts. So let me pull up the Enigma chart just because it's a really good illustration of this. So let's take a look at this candle. So this candle right here, the high was $1.23 and the low was 44 cents. So I had gotten a notification that I set before that this had a price share of negative 66%. And when you start seeing things like these, you know that people are really just panic selling, and then that panic selling is being very quickly bought up by the quote unquote smart money. Either that, or there are whales who've recognized the capitulation and are tanking the market to hunt out everyone's stop losses. Again, this definitely is a very manipulated market, but it still does respect a lot of the technical analysis. So for example, if we had the Fibonacci from here, so at the very bottom until the very top, you can see that the 61.8 line is right here, and you can see that it had closed right above it, and then the very next one bounced off of it, and now we're starting to go back up. So Fibonacci's definitely do work. Although we'll make a note that linear Fibonacci are not very good, and it is a very large flaw in TradingView that they don't have log fibs. So let me just demonstrate that. So the difference between log and linear. So you can see what it looks like in linear. You can see that the top is much, much higher. But if you look at it in log, it looks much more reasonable. And that's because in log, a 10% move here is going to show the same as 10% move here. Whereas if you had gone from $1 to $110 on linear, it doesn't look the same as $100 to $110, but on linear it does, or on log it does, sorry. So if you paint the fib on TradingView, this is what it shows you. You can see that it is still linear, where the 236 should be down here, but it's actually all the way up here. And you would have been very, very lost if you were using the linear fibs in TradingView. Unfortunately, that is the only one available, and you actually have to have a custom indicator if you want to have log Fibonacci's. And it's a little bit more tedious to do, but it's the only ones that are actually accurate on TradingView. Supposedly, they are going to fix it in the near future. But yeah, that was all those three things together were really what made me think that we finally had reached a long-term bottom, and that it was really just time to buy as much as you could. I had a significant amount of cash waiting on the sidelines. I had a lot of USD Tether, and so I had put a significant amount of that into Bitcoin, and then started a wire transfer from my bank account over to GDAX. And now I'm just waiting for an entry into all of that. So I'm very, very confident at this point that there is a bottom, especially since we had this huge explosive move up. You can't really call it anything else. So that makes me very optimistic for the next 1 to 2 months in Bitcoin, and possibly even more than that. So that's all I'm going to say right now on the capitulation. Now, if you have any questions on recognizing bottoms or something like that, ask them in the chat now. I still don't know how many people are watching. I wish Restream would show me that, but looks like no one has any questions. Last call. I'll continue. So in addition to that, I want to show you when I'm planning on putting a lot of my fiat on the sidelines in. So I'd already put in a lot of that as we were going down in this little leg here. So let me zoom in on that. So right around here, I was very sure that it was going to bounce out, and then a little bit on this side too as we hit the bottom and consolidated for a very short amount of time. So it was pretty close to the bottom. I think my average fill was around 7,500, which I'm pretty happy with. But I still do have the vast majority of my fiat still waiting to get in, and that's in the wire transfer. So let me show you. I'll go down here because it's clean. If you don't know what Elliott wave is, it is the theory that markets move in waves. So there's 5 waves, and they look something like this. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 is almost always the most extended. 5 is sometimes extended. 1 almost never. And then inside of each wave, it's a fractal. So you have that and that. And then that goes inside of each one too. You'd see 5 waves up here, 5 waves here, 5 waves in all of them. But on the corrective side, when it goes down, it goes in 3s. And then so you see 3s there. So if you're trading, you really want to catch this third wave here. And the best way to do that is to recognize that you have your 5 waves up for your larger 1 count. Let me change this so you can see it. For your larger 1 count. And then as soon as you have the retrace, that's when you place your bids around this area so that you can catch that 3 move up. And then if you're really, really risk averse, you can buy at this 2 here. So if you see the 5 waves up, 3 waves down, and you see another 5 up and then 3 down, that's when you're very, very sure that you're going to see a very large move afterwards. So what does that have to do with this? Right now, we have just hit a major bottom. So that means that, let me just change the Fibonacci's right here. So the top was 84.70. So that's right around the area that I wanted it to be at. So that means that the most likely path for this is going to be something like this. And your first buy point is going to be here so I would have layered bids at around the 78.60, the 77.25, and then the 75.60. And then you have a stop loss below here. So you want to buy here, you see the wave up, you sell a little bit here, buy more here, sell here, and then wait for the retrace. And then because this is just 1 degree down because of their fractals, you want to have your main heavy position be here so that you can ride that wave. As you can see, that one extends. Potentially, the 3 ends at around 13,000, goes down again, and then your final wave is around 14,000. So in my Telegram channel, I will be calling out when I'm buying at the 2 here, and then also when I'm selling here and then planning to buy a lot more at around the 8,200 mark once we get the 5 up from here, which it looks like we're well on our way to. So if you have any questions on how to buy, basically on how to buy based on Elliott waves, please put that in the chat as well if you have any questions. Or if you have any questions on Elliott wave in general. I'm certainly not the expert on this, but I just enjoy using them because I think it is one of the best ways that you can. It is the only method of technical analysis that has proved itself to me to be accurate and useful. Someone asked me before, how do you catch the bottom? So the saying is that you shouldn't, if you just try to catch a falling knife, you're just going to bleed. And I think for the most part that's true. So it probably was a little bit smarter if I had waited for this move up. But the difference was that I was covering my short here. So I felt a little bit more, I really didn't want to be caught in a short as the market was going to have this explosive move up. So I forget who had asked me that, but yeah, that's your answer for why I decided to buy back early. All right, so there's no questions on when I'm going to buy. And again, if you join our Telegram group, so that's t.me/altcoin mentors. Alternatively, you can do altcoinmentors.com/telegram. It's also in the link to my website, or the website link on my Twitter profile, so you can go there and join us. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the bigger picture for BTC. So switching to the 4-hour. My expectation for the bigger picture has not really changed that much. Like I had said last week on the live stream, if you watched that and were here, or follow me on Twitter, you'll notice that I'm not quite sure that this right here, the 59 or 5900-ish range, was not that. I wasn't sure that that was the complete bottom. And that's because this doesn't look to me like a very clear 5 waves up. And it could be like it could be 5 waves. Like if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you could also count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but nothing really. It's not really. It just doesn't look right to me. And not only me, I'm a part of the membership group, LAWaveTrader.net. I highly recommend it. The people in there are extraordinarily good traders. And everything that I've learned about LA Wave was from that membership site and from the LA Wave principal book. And a lot of the analysts in there also agree that this is not a very convincing impulse wave up. And what that leads to is that, you know how I said that things come in ABC, or downtrends come in ABC? So it would be A to here, B up to here in this red wave, or this red box, it'll reverse, and then C, it'll go down back to around between 4,700 and 3,000. So that is my current most probable outcome that I think will happen. So now the problem with this is that a lot of the altcoin charts look pretty much bottomed out. They're as bottomed out as you can really get. Bitcoin is really the only one that looks like it has more to go. And this is a problem because of the interplay between the altcoins and Bitcoin. Generally, generally the market cycles go like this, where you have a correction, everything goes down, alts go down more, Bitcoin recovers, both of them recover, or alts recover after that, and then Bitcoin huge bull run, alts bleed, and then Bitcoin goes sideways, and then alts just have a party. I've called this out before. So alts are so dead right now. I think a lot of them are down 80% or more. I know that my long-term portfolio pretty much just looks completely wrecked. I was able to stop some of the bleeding by hedging, but it was not pretty. I was hedged a little later than I should have been. So I think I'm down something like 60% from all-time highs on the long-term portfolio, which is really not good. And I personally don't think that a lot of the alts will survive going down more. And so that makes it hard for me to reconcile what I'm seeing in the Bitcoin chart with what I'm seeing in the altcoin charts. Now, the way that these could resolve is that the altcoin charts, or if the alts decide to have some run up before Bitcoin has its own bull run, or if the altcoins somehow decouple more from Bitcoin, which I don't see happening. I don't see the first one happening either. So it's really a difficult conundrum. So you can see that I drew an alternate green path. So if we do count this as a 5 wave up move to the 1, and then we count this down to 2, then you can see that we go up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we escape this red box. And Bitcoin is well on its way to, zoom out even more, Bitcoin is well on its way up. You can see that this is part of a larger 1. It goes back down to 2. And then, let me switch to the daily. And then this count ends somewhere around 200,000 per Bitcoin. And this is also a problem because the longer term Bitcoin picture looks like it's going to top out at around 82,000 max. So the range that I had said was 48,000 to 82,000, and 250,000 is much, much farther past that. I know a lot of other people had the topping out be at around 150,000 as well. But 250 or 200,000 is still much higher than that. So that's why I'm inclined to stick with my original prediction that we see 4,000 Bitcoin before 40,000. But I'm slightly more convinced that we could just be bullish from here and that 5,900 was the absolute bottom. So how am I going to proceed knowing all this? I will be taking profits very heavily in this red rectangle. And that is going to mean that if we end up going all the way past it and then retrace, that, yeah, I'm probably going to be in a slightly worse position than if I just held, if that does prove to be bullish. But the alternative is that we go from around 16,000 or 19,000 and it drops all the way to 3,000. And so that's, 83% downturn. So the risk reward does make sense to be taking profits in the range of 12,000 to 19,000. And I know that's not very specific, but as soon as we get a few more squiggles on this Bitcoin 1 hour and 4 hour chart, we can start to target it a little bit more precisely. So what I'm going to be looking for, if it can be really bullish, if we have this one wave extend all the way up to around 11,000. So if we go to 11,000 without a 61% drawdown compared to the local bottom, then I might switch over to thinking that we are going to go straight up all the way to 100,000 plus. But if we do top at around 9,800, that's when I'm going to be thinking more that you really need to take profits at the 19,000 because we're headed back down. Not 19,000, more likely 14,000. And this is a little bit of a side note, but I see a lot of people just hoping that one of them will happen. But you can't do that. You always have to be on the lookout for a scenario that is vastly different, in fact, the complete opposite from what you want to happen. So if you're a member of my Telegram group, you'll notice that I always post an alternate that could happen to switch to if something is invalidated. And this is super important because you should never base your strategy on hope and optimism. Because if you base your strategy on hope and optimism, when something bad happens, you have no alternative and you weren't positioned for it. You have to know when you're wrong, at what point that is, and what action you're going to take. And so that's why I always have at least one alternate that is different from what I have right now. You can see that my alternate right now is this red count, where we top out right around here actually, and then just go straight down to 6,000, up to 7,000, and then down to 5,000. I don't really think that this is going to happen. Obviously, that's why it's an alternate, but you have to be able to know when you're wrong. And I think that was all I wanted to say on the Bitcoin bigger picture. The fundamentals are super, super, super strong on Bitcoin right now. Lightning Network is officially in beta, and that means that a lot of your coins like, I don't know, Redcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Nano, everything where the main value proposition is faster, cheaper, that's all just going to be, that value prop is destroyed by the Lightning Network. So any coin that is just saying it's the next Bitcoin, Lightning Network is the next Bitcoin, and you should dump that coin. And this is another problem that is hard to reconcile, because it's really hard to imagine that with how bullish the fundamentals are, that the chart could say that it's going down to 3,000. But like I said, there are very clear things that I'm looking for to see whether or not it's going to go up or down, and we'll have to let it play out. I think it's going to be at least 2 weeks before I'm going to have a better picture of what's going on. All right, so that's all I wanted to say on the bigger picture for Bitcoin. If you have any questions on anything I've just said, please put it in the chat. I know that at times I am not the most articulate, and I tend to ramble on unrelated things that can confuse at times. So if you need anything clarified, please let me know. And also for the people who are watching the replay, please put something in the comments if you don't quite understand anything I'm saying. Also, please include a timestamp. Some people before were referencing something that I had to basically watch the entire video to understand their context. So please put the timestamp in if you're asking a question on the replay. All right, so let's now forget that I think it's going to 4K and look in some alt charts, because a lot of the alt charts, like I said, are at the bottom of their ranges. So let me open a few of the alt charts that I think are really, really set up well and in buy zones. So it's ARK, Request Network, Cash, BitShares. Okay, so first of all, Enigma. If you've been following me for any period of time, you know how bullish I am on Enigma's fundamentals. It's my #1 pick for an undervalued coin. I'm making a video on why I think that. That'll be released on Tuesday. I think that if you were able to get any Enigma at under $1, you basically stole it. It's going to be so big in the future if they execute well, which I know is not any guarantee, but they have a very strong team, and so I think that they're going to be able to do it. And they have no competitors, so I'll get into it much more in the video on Tuesday. And as you can see, like I pointed out before, if you had your Fibonacci from the all-time top to the all-time low, then it would be right now, right at the 61.8% retracement. And generally, this is the bottom of the range for your wave 2. So I really think that this is going to be the start of a very large third wave move. The only problem is that this section up here was not clearly 5 waves up. It's kind of some weird, like maybe a diagonal here and then 3 and then, yeah. So it's also possible that this is just a larger diagonal and that it's just not following. This is not in fact a 1-2. It's some more complicated diagonal. But even if it is, we'll know when we get up here to one of the major Fibonacci resistances and what happens from then. So ENG, I'm very bullish on right now. Still right now at only 127. I don't think that you're going to see this price for a very long time. So Enigma is a very good buy right now. I'm going to post these in the Telegram chat later for the people who weren't able to make it. The next one is ARK. So ARK has been playing the Fibonacci ratios very, very nicely. So at a 1-2, the 1-2 here was almost at perfect. Let me see if I can show you that. So you had a 1-2, then you expected your 1 to end here, but it went a little bit farther. That's okay. Had a very, very nice retracement, almost down perfectly to the 618%. And then your wave 3 terminated right where you'd expect. Wave 4 is almost exactly where you'd expect. And then the wave 5 is almost perfect as well. So right now it just touched that 1.0 extension, and it looks very, very good to head up to around $30 to complete its larger cycle. So ARK is looking even better than ENG at this point. So I highly recommend ARK as well. Request Network. Request Network is a follower favorite. A lot of you like it. It's a Reddit coin, basically. And very clear 5 waves here. And even though this isn't clearly 3 waves, I'm willing to go by the Fibonacci retracement only. And as you can see, it bounced just off of that 61.8% retracement and is starting to bounce out of the box right now. So this looks just like, this is almost the same setup as Enigma. And I think that Request Network is also very bullish at the moment. So Request Network is one of the altcoins that has some ridiculous risk to reward right now, just because they started out so low and went so high in the last alt cycle. So if you had the Fibonacci's from here to here and you put the start here, the end of that puts your Request Network at $225. So I'm not too sure about the exact validity of Request Network at $225, but I think that even if it doesn't get all the way up there, it still is very, very bullish. Yes, I did talk about ENG already. And so the next one is Cash. So Cash is very interesting because you'll notice that this is the Cash to Bitcoin chart. And usually I like to chart them in US dollars because they're just nicer charts. They look better. And that does make it a little bit more difficult to trade them because you're dealing with the BTC pairs, not the USD pairs. But the Bitcoin for Cash actually looks very good. It played with the Fibonacci's from this 1.0 very nicely. And then, again, it's not clear that this is 3 waves, but I'll let it slide because it is right at the 61.8% retracement. Dipped a little bit below, so that's not amazing, but the point where you start to get worried is that the 76.4% retracement, and it didn't really get anywhere close to that. So I posted this Cash trade idea in Telegram before, and it is still looking very good. The target for this is, first target is at 100k sats, and the second target is at a little over 200. So that's around a 15x gain and a 30x gain, respectively, on Bitcoin, not on USD. So that makes it even better. And then the last one is BitShares. So BitShares had a whole lot of nothing going on in this area, but then it really kicked stuff off. So you had a nice 1-2. You had an almost perfect hit if you were doing the Fibonacci's from there. So you can see that it expected it to be around the 618 extension, and it got super duper close to that. And then dipped a little bit below the expected range, which is expected because this fell just short. So this is more risky than the other ones because it is still falling. It hasn't made a higher low just yet. So don't put, if you're going to trade on this, don't put as large a size. I personally, for my position sizing, used the Kelly criterion, and so I used quarter Kelly allocation for this one, whereas my standard allocation is half Kelly. I'll make a video on Kelly criterion in the future, but basically it's a way of position sizing that will maximize your, there's some pretty complicated math behind it. I'm not going to go into it now. BitShares is also one of the coins that is pretty stupidly bullish. The end of this one too is at $2,500. So I'm really, like I said with Request Network, I don't really expect BitShares to be worth $2,500, but it is not an impossibility. Let me just say that. Like, it actually might be impossible, but regardless, it's still very bullish. And so those should be all of the altcoin buy setups that I really like. There's certainly others that are kind of nice buy setups. VeChain is the one that comes to mind, where it's like, and it looks pretty good, but doesn't have the risk to reward that the other ones do. Yeah, I think it can still go down more and be valid. So the main ones that I said were Cash is a good buy, Enigma is a good buy, Arc is a good buy, Request Network is a good buy, and so is BitShares. So those 5 are, I recommend picking up. The rest of the alts, I think, can bleed further as Bitcoin started its bull run. But those are the 5 that I've identified that are the best right now. So with that, I talked for a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I still have time for questions. So these can be questions on either anything I've talked about or on just anything related to crypto you want to know. I can chart something if you want. Pretty much up to you guys. Sometimes people send me messages on Twitter. So let me switch to the webcam. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, please let me know. It looks like there isn't anything. So I think this might be because not that many people are watching. So like I had said before, I think I'm going to be switching the time to when more people are on. Someone commented, "It's like I'm whispering, improve your sound." Someone in the chat, can you please confirm that my sound is not working well? From my mixer output, it actually, the green bar looks fine to me. And I can't actually increase that anymore, so. But your comment is noted. Sound is good. Strange. What do I think about Encash? So Encash was another one of the trades, or one of the charts that looked decent. But the problem I have with Encash is that it really shouldn't be a token. It shouldn't be a cryptocurrency. It's basically just a startup. It's a really cool startup actually, but the only reason that they had a token is to raise money. And having a token actually makes the user experience much worse. So fundamentally, I don't like Cash at all. But I do have to say that the chart looks fairly good. The problem is I don't have a lot of history on it. It only goes back to, late February, so a month. Oh, I didn't change it. Sorry about that. Back to the screen. Yeah, so here's the chart. It's right now what at 380, and the 3 is at 1355, so that's around 4 or 5x, and then it ends at around 1900. 19 divided 3.5, 6. Yeah, so it definitely has some upside. And if you disagree with me on the project, like, I would not be offended if you bought it, because the chart does look good. If there are any other questions, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, I do have to get work done, so it won't be like the last ones where I answered other people's questions from that I had gotten earlier that I didn't have time to type out responses for. Yeah, no problem, of course. Opinion on Batos and Sophia TX. So, Batos and Sophia TX. So, Batos I had talked a little bit about before in the last live chat. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think that it's too early. And wow, that's not pretty. That's just gone. Continue to go down. Yeah, like I've said before, I want to invest in infrastructure because I think that any use cases for blockchain, you aren't going to be able to separate out the companies that, if I'm going to continue using the internet analogy, the companies like early grocery delivery products, whereas now you have Instacart, but all the grocery delivery services failed in the 1990s and early 2000s because they were too early. So Batos I also think is too early. The team behind it is pretty solid. Someone from the Neo Foundation is the CEO, and she's pretty impressive. But Batos is just not in my investment thesis right now, so I'm not going to invest in it. Sophia TX is something that I have not done a ton of research in. I also kind of dismissed it, mainly because they seem mainly marketing driven. You can see that they have the scrolling for what they're featured in for press. And then there was a rumor that they were partnering with SAP, where it's just that they're building integrations for SAP into their software. So I don't really like companies that are super based on marketing. So like TRX, Verge, Ripple. Not that I'm comparing Sophia TX to the shitcoins like those, but yeah, they're trying to connect businesses to blockchains, and this is more towards infrastructure, but again, I don't think that it's there yet. If I'm completely open to being wrong, though, if someone can tell me why that this is something revolutionary and worth investing in. I don't know anything about token economics either, so. All right, so if there are any more questions, please put them in the chat. All right, looks like there's nothing else. So I'll go into the outro. So if you like this, guys, please like and subscribe. on our YouTube channel. Please follow me on Twitter if you're watching on Periscope. So my tag is at IamCharlieU. You can also follow us at altcoin_mentors. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So you can go to altcoinmentors.com/YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube right now, please subscribe. I'm going to be bringing you 2 fundamental videos per week. So that is going to be a coin review every Tuesday, and then a more educational type video on Fridays. And then I'm doing live streams on the weekend. Still not sure that this is the best time to do it, considering not that many people are watching. I might switch over to either Sunday morning or Saturday sometime. So if you have a preference on that, please let me know on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. And if you have a question, again, you can DM me on Twitter. You can leave a comment here. Lots of ways to contact us. And again, our Telegram group where we're always posting stuff is Telegram or t.me/altcoinmentors, and alternatively altcoinmentors.com/telegram. And with that, I seriously want to thank you all for watching. It really means a lot to us that you've given us this responsibility to hopefully guide you on this journey to achieve your financial freedom through cryptocurrency. So again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, like it below, and subscribe to our channel. Catch us on Telegram, Twitter, and I'll see you later. Thank you, everyone.